There we go. Hey, Bobby. How are you doing today?
Just great. Excited to talk about what's coming up this summer.
Yeah, and guys, welcome to College Planning Untangled, where we help families simplify the college planning process. You're here with Bobby Hood and myself, Kristin Clark. And today we are readdressing the college planning timeline. We're talking about our seniors and what they need to do over the summer to plan for college. And I know you thought you were there and done and ready to go, but there's still a little bit to do.
Well, yeah, this is perfect. We're coming up on the final decision dates, I think, for for some colleges, and so you feel like okay, you're done, but now you're starting that next phase, and you might think the only thing you need to do is just pack a bag in the fall, but there's some stuff you can do over the summer for sure.
Yep, there sure is. And, I think, Bobby, this is some of the fun stuff because now
Yeah.
you've done the heavy lifting. For the
Mhm.
most part, we've got one really big decision you still have to make. But the very first thing that we're going to talk about is just learning more about the college that you're going to go to.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, just, like if you haven't visited, go visit, right? But start, looking, at what's going on there, right? What's in that city? What are things to do? Talk to people who already go to school there if you can, anything like that.
Yeah,
Right.
and get curious. And I think too, it's just as much for the kiddo as it is for the parents because here's the deal, guys, you're going to be spending a lot of time there. You
Yeah.
know, you are going to be visiting. And I think too, to help your kid really just explore and embrace that city as their own, for you to have some ideas of different things that you might be able to do either before they get there or even, when you're visiting at different times. Like
Mhm.
a fun thing that we did when for Mom's Weekend when we went up to see my younger son. He goes to Oklahoma State University, and
Mhm.
we took an hour and a half and drove to the Pioneer Woman City and
Mhm.
hung out and looked. And we found out they were going to be filming a movie in that
Oh,
town. And
cool.
yeah, it was just really fun, and it was something that he wouldn't have done with his buddies, but
Right.
he enjoyed, just kind of experiencing, I guess, the bigger part of
Mhm.
Oklahoma and going and seeing different things just other than just on campus. So there's lots of fun things you can do to get your kid acclimated to that college.
Absolutely. And so then once you know things about the city, then, you know, you don't want to be like most freshmen are just going to be there, just sitting there, like knowing nothing, wandering on campus, going and trying things out in the city and not knowing what's good, And so that's a good way to, make friends and go do stuff with them, like have ideas about things you can go do that, apart from just sitting around the dorm.
Yeah, and I'd even say, Bobby, things like trying out new restaurants and
Mhm.
just the simpler things, going
Yeah,
hiking, just really just embracing the city. So I think that's, one thing that you can be doing, which is fun and exciting, for everybody in the family.
absolutely.
Yeah. So the second thing is, and this is the tough one, it
Yeah.
is choosing a college major because a
Mhm.
lot of students want to put off this process.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you and I have talked about really starting this process way back
Mhm.
when you're starting your junior year in high school, but I know it's an easy thing for people, for parents and for kiddos to go, I'll figure it out as I go.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's, as we've talked about before, I mean, I changed my major several times in college, and that's not the optimal thing. And you could do that a little more years ago, but now if you do that, you're really running a risk of having to spend an extra year in college, and then that, has enormous implications for finances and all that. And so if you can start figuring out some things, if you haven't started thinking about a major at all, then absolutely you need to start considering what your strengths are, what kind of careers you would enjoy. And that's what you help students with. So that's something you could do is spend some time this summer working with Kristin and figuring out, what your strengths are, what careers would be good for you. But just start thinking about majors because you might think that you're going to show up in school and like you're going to have some really long visit with a counselor who's going to figure this all out with you. Now, you're going to only have a few minutes with a counselor, if at all. And so you need to figure out okay, if I do this major, what classes should I be taking this fall? You're going to have to register for classes, before you arrive. So, like,
Yeah, and I
go
think,
ahead
Bobby,
for
you're
all
you're
that.
you're bringing up a good point, and the reality is when our kids are going to college and they are meeting with their counselors, they're getting 15-minute time slots.
Oh
So
yeah.
if they're not walking in with a semblance of, I think I know what I want to do,
Yeah.
there's not a whole lot that can happen in 15 minutes, right?
Right.
And, this whole idea of you can figure it out as you go plan, I
Yeah.
can tell you historically, Bobby, and you know it, you lived it, you went through many majors. So many
Mhm.
people do. I mean, the stat is 80% of kids with going to college will change their major 3 times or more on average.
There you go.
So everybody looks at that, and I think they've accepted it as that's just the way it is. And the reality is, it doesn't have to be that way.
It does
No,
not, right,
no, no.
absolutely, and so, yeah, just a little bit of thinking about that ahead of time can save you gigantic amounts of pain and work and heartache later on, for sure.
Well, it is, and I think this is one of those that parents sometimes discount the feelings that their kiddos are having while they're on campus, and they're
Mhm,
looking around and it looks like everybody else has their life figured out. And the reality is they don't either, but it looks like they do.
mhm,
So now
right,
this kid's sitting here going, oh my gosh, I'm the only one that doesn't know what they're going to do with their life. So there's a lot of, angst and turmoil that goes on when they're feeling lonely already because they're in a new place, trying to
mhm.
figure things out, and they have that on top of it. So
Absolutely, and I think it also, this ties in when learning about the college, learning about the city, learning about what clubs are on campus. I mean, there are organizations for most majors, like of students, and so you can join that. You can start finding other people who are in that major. Older students, they can tell you which classes are good ones, which professors are the best, all that sort of thing. You can just get a jump on all that if you have an idea what you're doing, right?
yeah, and you bring up a good point. I've got a family that I worked with years ago. That one of the things that Tammy talked about, the mom, was she said we went to orientation, and she said they were calling these groups, and they were saying,
Hmm.
okay, people that are majoring in law, people that are majoring in nursing, and she said we didn't belong because they hadn't thought through this. She's like,
Hmm.
we had this feeling of, wow, we don't belong here because they hadn't thought through that. So, I
Yeah.
mean, it really is important to be talking about this
Hmm.
conversation. And Bobby, one of the things I hear parents say all the time is, come on, Kristin, they're 17. Are they going to know what they're going to do for the rest of their life? You know?
Right.
And the answer is, when should we start talking about
Hmm.
what you're going to do as far as a career path?
Yeah.
These kids have ideas of what they might want to do. They
Hmm.
just need an outlet to be able to talk through it, and they don't have to know exactly what they're going to do. But if we can get them down the right path as far as in the right major, then we let college do what it's supposed to do and expose them to a lot of really wonderful experiences so that they can narrow their choice and then come out on the other end with an idea of what
Hmm.
they do want to do as far as a career.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that makes a really good point of just like you don't have to actually figure out. The point is to focus on your strengths and what careers would be good for those strengths or what kinds of jobs in those careers. You don't have to figure out exactly what you're going to do, right? But that idea will get you thinking, and then you can say, okay, here's several different majors that would work for that, right? Then you can start exploring it because the first year is mostly prerequisites anyway. It's mostly
Mhm.
like, the basic, general stuff that you need to take. But you could then take something that is common to all those majors. You're like, well, I know that I'm going to need to take 2 sciences. I can take one, something like that, right? And that starts you down the path, and then you can spend that year, talking to students in that. That's where then you join the clubs and stuff, and talk to older students in that major, and then you find out, yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah. So that's a big step, families and moms,
Mhm.
dads, whoever's listening. And just know it's important for you to spend that time and allow your kiddo to have these conversations before they
Mhm.
go to college. And don't let them bury their head in in the sand and go, I'll figure that out later. Right.
Right.
All
Absolutely.
right. Next thing on the list is say thank you.
Oh
Now,
yeah. So now the fun stuff, right?
yes.
Yeah, go to all those people who wrote your recommendation letters, who helped you with your essays, all that. Yeah, say thank you so that when you ask for another recommendation letter later, they're still willing to do it. They'll be glad they invested the time.
That, and don't forget people like grandmothers or
Oh my
neighbors
gosh.
or anybody that encouraged you. on the college, tours, or just encouraged you to go to college, whatever that process was, right? Just
Mhm.
thank people for what they've done just to help you grow. It might be going back to your kindergarten teacher and
Mhm.
saying, hey, gosh, thank you for what you did back then. I remember this, that, and the other thing. And by the way, here's what I'm doing with the rest of my life.
Yeah, that's really important.
Yeah. Here's another fun one. Consider taking summer classes.
Absolutely. So it may not sound like it makes sense. You think, oh, I'm finally done with high school. I'm going to relax. But if you take some summer classes and then that will transfer as credits to your new school, then I mean, that's, like I had AP credit hours or whatever, but I also did a summer school class myself. And so when you add all that together, basically that allowed me to complete college in 4 years, taking a load of about 12 or 13 hours per semester, which made just all of school a lot easier. It was just less classes, less work to do. And so it really made college a less,
Less stressful.
less complicated, less stressful.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And so if you do that, if you do some stuff also, college level classes require a way, like a lot of students are used to high school not really having to do that much work to get through a high school class, and in college the level of work is so much more. Taking a summer class where you see what it's like, how much work it is really good, because it's so many people, the rate of leaving college, as you have talked about before, is so high. Part of that is because people come in, they get behind on school, they're having too much fun, and they don't know how to organize their time and get their studying done. And then suddenly you realize halfway through the semester that you're so far behind that you can't make it up, or you believe you can't make it up, And so, yeah, just getting used to it, right? And you can do a one, it's not like you'd have to spend the entire summer. You know, you can go take, one semester of summer classes just for a few weeks. Usually
Yeah,
they're
so
about
go
three,
into your
three, 4 weeks
local
long.
yeah, go into your local community college. And Bobby, I love the thought of not only, by taking that, you get a few credits under your belt,
Mhm.
which, by the way, then if you mess up and, have
Mhm.
to drop a class during college, then it's not putting you behind. But
Yeah,
also, so it gives you a little bit of flexibility, but also, like you said, that stress where you can take a
Mhm.
little bit lighter load. That's huge.
It's amazing.
And
Yeah.
and I do love tipping your toe in the water and just going, "Okay, what's this gonna be like?" Because I think
Mhm.
that kinda takes some of the stress out of going to college that first year too, where you're like, "I kinda sorta know what it's gonna be like," right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Alright.
Absolutely. Because it is different. Yep.
Yeah. And then we've got enjoy your friends and family.
Hmm.
Here's the big deal, guys. You are gonna be leaving your friends and family for months at a time, in some cases. So, taking that pause, putting the foot on the brake for a second and just looking around and thinking about the fact that this life
Hmm.
is kind of done. You're
Yep.
moving into a different time of life and just kind of savoring that and enjoying the moment. I know none of us are very good at this. Not, I shouldn't say none of us. Not many people are good at this.
Hmm.
But just really kind of savoring what you've accomplished and knowing, that these people are going to be there for you. You just have to make sure that, you appreciate them and, you know, do all the have all the good feels
Hmm.
around things.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
because there are a few things on this list, but it's not like this is not stuff that takes a lot of time to do, right? Spend a little time thinking about careers. Say thank you to people. Go find some things out about your new college and your new city, and enjoy your time, your last, sort of summer with the people you grew up with. Absolutely.
Yes. And then last on the list is preparing for your first year at college.
Hmm.
This tends to be, I think, some of the fun stuff.
Yeah.
This is getting stuff for your dorm room. It's thinking about orientation and planning for that trip.
Hmm.
It's
Yep.
what
Choosing a
going,
dorm and
yeah, well, and
yep.
and then the oh gosh, we've talked about this too, Bobby, but the joining all your clubs,
Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
getting acclimated.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just, getting stuff packed up, like figuring out what you're going to take, and just absolutely, just doing all the sign up stuff. It's just all the different things that you ought to do ahead of time. And that's one of those things. The college will send you lots of materials. don't leave that envelope sitting there for 2 months, right? A lot of people, the number of people over the years who have, found out that, basically you need to register for your dorm and all that, like the day you get your acceptance letter, or the day, whatever May 1, you better get that thing filled out.
I'm seeing it all over the college blogs and Facebook pages right now where they're like, okay, hold on. We got to
Right.
figure out this dorm thing. And it is
Yeah.
important because I will tell you, it's a big deal to get in either the dorm that you want to. I mean, I had a friend where she came into the party a little bit late and
Yep.
ended up in, what's the right term? Where it's not permanent.
Oh yeah. Like just
Not permanent housing. Let's just say
yeah.
that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So she
Temporary
ended up in
housing, or whatever. Yeah.
yeah, temporary.
Yep.
Thank you.
And I remember when I went, I didn't know this. I did not. I just thought you'd get randomly assigned a roommate. Wi- and so I didn't go and find a roommate. And so everybody else went and found people that they knew and got set up and registered to be roommates. And so I got a random assignment roommate, which,
How'd it
is
go?
what they do, but it was not good. And so I had to change roommates at
Right.
semester break during winter, and that's nothing was good about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, like you got to think about these things, and so that's it. It's simple stuff, but
Yeah.
that's it. But I mean, this is all geared toward, the statistics that so many people they leave after their first year. They don't stay, for the full time. They have to transfer colleges. They have to spend 5 years. All of these are things, just to reduce that risk so that you will be comfortable and happy and make friends and feel like it really is your home that you have come to when you go there in the fall.
Yeah. You're really just kind of crossing T's and dotting I's at this
Yeah,
point.
for
So
sure.
yeah, but it will make a big difference in your experience. So it's worth the effort, worth the time, and worth, just putting a little bit of effort around, thinking about these things. So
Absolutely.
all right. Bobby, that's it. I mean, this is always a fun one to do because we're talking about fun subjects today.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so, people who are interested in talking about careers can talk to you. And of course, anybody who's watching who wants to talk about ACT or SAT, or once you're in college, GMAT, GRE, LSAT, MCAT, you can contact both of us. We're always happy to give a free consultation to talk about what we do. So we'd love to hear from you. And if you want a copy of this timeline that we're talking about, just text that number that's in the comments.
All right. Thanks, Bobby.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye.